The ongoing saga surrounding the murder of former Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa has taken yet another dramatic turn, with controversial singer Kelly Khumalo allegedly making startling claims that implicate high-ranking government officials in an elaborate cover-up designed to shield her from prosecution. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge of the matter, Khumalo, who has remained a central figure in the nearly decade-long investigation, has privately confessed to possessing critical information about the identities of Meyiwa's killers, while simultaneously asserting that powerful political figures have actively worked to obstruct justice in the case. These explosive allegations, if proven true, threaten to unravel an already fragile criminal justice system and expose deep-seated corruption at the highest levels of South African governance. The circumstances surrounding Meyiwa's tragic death in October 2014 have long been mired in controversy, with persistent allegations of police incompetence, witness intimidation, and political interference derailing any meaningful progress toward justice. Shot dead in the Vosloorus home of Kelly Khumalo's mother during what was supposed to be a private visit, Meyiwa's murder case has become emblematic of the systemic failures plaguing South Africa's law enforcement and judicial institutions. Khumalo, who was romantically involved with Meyiwa at the time of his killing, has consistently denied any involvement in the crime. Yet public suspicion has never waned, keeping her firmly in the crosshairs of both media scrutiny and widespread speculation. Now, insiders claim that Khumalo has adopted an aggressive new stance, warning those she alleges have protected her over the years that she will not hesitate to expose them should they withdraw their support. A well-placed source within Khumalo's inner circle has revealed that the singer has, in confidential discussions, admitted to knowing key details about the individuals responsible for Meyiwa's murder, but has refused to cooperate with investigators due to what she describes as legitimate fears for her safety. More disturbingly, the same source alleges that Khumalo has boasted about her close personal relationships with several government ministers and senior officials, whom she claims have used their influence to manipulate the trajectory of the investigation. She has made it abundantly clear that these men have a vested interest in keeping her silent because she holds information that could destroy their careers, the insider disclosed. Her position is simple. If they abandon her now, she will ensure they face the consequences alongside her. The situation appears to have reached a critical juncture in recent weeks, with law enforcement agencies signaling a renewed determination to pursue dormant leads in the Meyiwa case. Sensing that her long-standing immunity may be eroding, Khumalo is said to have issued thinly veiled threats to the implicated officials, demanding that they continue to shield her from legal repercussions. She has framed it as a mutual pact. If they allow her to fall, she will drag them down with her, the source added. While the identities of these officials remain undisclosed, speculation is rife that some occupy pivotal roles within the country's security and justice sectors, raising alarming questions about the integrity of the state's handling of high-profile criminal investigations. Legal experts have been quick to highlight the potentially catastrophic implications of these allegations, warning that any confirmation of ministerial interference in the Meyiwa case would represent a severe blow to public trust in South Africa's democratic institutions. This is not merely about a celebrity evading accountability. It speaks to a much broader crisis of governance and ethical decay at the highest levels of power, remarked a senior legal analyst specializing in corruption cases. Meanwhile, opposition parties have seized upon the developments, calling for an immediate independent judicial inquiry and demanding that President Cyril Ramaphosa address the allegations directly. If it is true that cabinet ministers have abused their authority to protect a murder suspect, then we are witnessing a fundamental betrayal of the public's trust, stated a spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance. Public reaction to Khumalo's alleged threats has been sharply divided, with some dismissing her claims as the desperate posturing of a woman cornered by mounting legal pressure, while others view them as a potential breakthrough in a case that has been starved of transparency for far too long. Social media platforms have erupted with heated debate, reigniting the hashtag Justice for Senzo movement as citizens from all walks of life demand answers. The Meyiwa family, who have endured nearly a decade of frustration and heartbreak, have expressed cautious optimism that these latest developments may finally bring them closer to the truth. "We have waited for justice for far too long," said Senzo Meyiwa, Senzo's brother. If Kelly Khumalo truly knows something, then she has a moral obligation to come forward, no matter who might be implicated in the process. As the nation grapples with the ramifications of these allegations, one undeniable reality remains. The Senzo Meyiwa murder case has become one of South Africa's most contentious and emotionally charged unresolved crimes. With Kelly Khumalo's latest claims thrusting the scandal back into the national spotlight, authorities now face unprecedented pressure to either take decisive action or risk further eroding what little confidence the public still retains in the justice system. Whether these revelations will ultimately lead to long overdue accountability or merely deepen the shadows of concealment remains to be seen. But for now, South Africa watches, waits, and hopes for a resolution that has been delayed for far too long. The broader implications of this case extend well beyond the immediate scandal, touching upon recurring themes of political interference, witness intimidation, and institutional failure that have plagued South Africa's criminal justice system for years. Legal scholars and criminologists have drawn unsettling parallels between the Meyiwa investigation and other high-profile cases where procedural delays, questionable investigative tactics, and alleged political meddling have obstructed justice. Historical precedents such as the assassination of anti-apartheid activist Chris Hani and the murder of mining magnate Brett Keppel serve as stark reminders of how power and influence can distort the pursuit of truth, leaving victims' families in perpetual limbo while the powerful evade scrutiny. What makes the Meyiwa case particularly emblematic is the way it has captured the public imagination, transforming from a tragic but isolated incident into a symbol of the systemic rot undermining South Africa's democratic foundations. The repeated delays, the whispers of witness tampering, and the persistent allegations of political protection have all contributed to a growing sense of disillusionment among citizens who once believed in the promise of a post-apartheid society built on justice and equality. With each passing year without resolution, the case has become a litmus test for the country's commitment to the rule of law, and the latest developments involving Kelly Khumalo have only intensified the scrutiny on those entrusted with upholding it. Against this backdrop, the role of the media in shaping public perception cannot be overstated. From the earliest days of the investigation, sensationalist reporting and unchecked speculation have often overshadowed factual analysis, further complicating an already murky narrative. While some journalists have doggedly pursued the truth, others have been accused of prioritizing scandal over substance, contributing to a climate of misinformation that has made it increasingly difficult to separate fact from fiction. This dynamic has only been exacerbated by the rise of social media, where unverified claims and conspiracy theories can spread like wildfire, often drowning out legitimate investigative efforts and muddying the waters even further. For the Meyiwa family, the emotional toll of the prolonged uncertainty has been immeasurable. Having buried their loved one nearly a decade ago, they have been forced to endure the added agony of watching his case become a political football, tossed between competing narratives while the prospect of justice grows ever more distant. Their resilience in the face of such adversity has been nothing short of remarkable, but even the strongest among them have their limits. We just want to know the truth, Senzo Meyiwa has said on multiple occasions, a simple yet heartbreaking plea that underscored the profound human cost of systemic failure. As the latest chapter in the protracted saga unfolds, one thing is clear. The Senzo Meyiwa murder case is about much more than one man's tragic death. It is a reflection of the broader struggles facing South Africa as it grapples with corruption, inequality, and the enduring legacy of a fractured past. The allegations brought forward by Kelly Khumalo, whether ultimately proven true or false, have reignited a national conversation about accountability, transparency, and the kind of country South Africa aspires to be. In the end, the resolution of this case, whenever and however it comes, will say as much about the state of the nation as it does about the individuals directly involved. For now, the wheels of justice continue to turn, however slowly, and the public's gaze remains fixed on those in power, waiting to see whether they will rise to the occasion or succumb to the same forces that have kept the truth at bay for so long. The stakes could not be higher, not just for the Meyiwa family, but for every South African who still believes in the promise of a fair and just society. The world is watching, history is recording, and the ghosts of the past demand nothing less than the full, unvarnished truth. The Senzo Meyiwa murder case continues to dominate national discourse as shocking new allegations emerge about singer Kelly Khumalo's alleged involvement in a high-level cover-up that reaches into the highest echelons of government. What began as a tragic shooting in 2014 has evolved into one of South Africa's most controversial unsolved crimes, exposing what many believe to be systemic failures in the justice system and raising troubling questions about political interference in criminal investigations. The latest developments suggest a web of protection extending far beyond what was previously imagined, with Khumalo now allegedly threatening to expose powerful figures who she claims have shielded her from prosecution through intimate relationships and political favors. For nearly a decade, the Meyiwa family has endured an agonizing wait for justice, while watching the case become increasingly mired in controversy and procedural delays. The football star was gunned down in what was initially reported as a botched robbery at the Vosloris home of Kelly Khumalo's mother, where he was visiting the singer, his then-girlfriend. However, inconsistencies in witness statements, unexplained investigative delays, and mysterious disappearance of key evidence quickly transformed this from a straightforward criminal case into a national scandal. Now, with Khumalo reportedly prepared to name ministers and officials she claims have protected her, the case has taken on explosive political dimensions that threaten to shake the foundations of South Africa's criminal justice system. The depth of public anger became palpable this week as protests erupted outside courthouses and police stations, with citizens demanding answers about why Docket 375, the official murder case file, remains shrouded in secrecy despite numerous court orders and public promises of transparency. Legal experts point to this as perhaps the most glaring example of institutional failure in the case, with the docket's contents being fiercely guarded even as rumors swirl about its potentially damning revelations. Former prosecutor Glynis Breitenbach described the situation as unprecedented in a democracy, noting that when a case of this magnitude remains unresolved for so long, with so many questions about evidence suppression, it fundamentally undermines public trust in our legal institutions. At the heart of the current firestorm are claims from multiple sources close to the investigation that Khumalo has maintained a network of powerful protectors through intimate relationships with several government ministers. These allegations, while unproven, have gained traction due to the inexplicable delays in prosecuting obvious leads in the case. A senior police investigator, speaking on condition of anonymity, revealed that detectives had compiled substantial evidence pointing to Khumalo's possible involvement in orchestrating the murder, including cell phone records placing her in contact with known criminals in the days preceding the shooting. "We had enough to charge her years ago," the investigator stated, "but every time we moved forward, we hit invisible walls. Orders would come from above to stand down, evidence would go missing from lockups, witnesses would suddenly change their stories. The pattern of obstruction has become so blatant that opposition parties are now calling for a full-scale parliamentary inquiry. Democratic Alliance leader John Steenhuisen has demanded that President Ramaphosa explain why multiple police commissioners and justice ministers have failed to resolve the case during their tenures. Either we have the most incompetent security cluster in our history, Steenhuisen argued in Parliament this week, or there's active, deliberate interference happening at the highest levels. His sentiments were echoed by economic freedom fighters leader Julius Malema, who stunned lawmakers by alleging he possessed information about specific ministers involved in the cover-up, promising to reveal names of authorities didn't act within 30 days. Meanwhile, forensic experts consulted for this investigation highlight troubling gaps in the original police work. Ballistic evidence linking the murder weapon to previous crimes was allegedly ignored, while key witnesses reported being intimidated into silence. One individual present at the shooting, whose identity we are protecting, described receiving death threats shortly after giving initial statements to police. "They told me I'd disappear if I didn't change my story," the witness revealed. "When I went back to the police station for protection, the officers just shrugged and said there was nothing they could do." Such accounts have become commonplace among those connected to the case, painting a picture of a justice system either unwilling or unable to protect those who come forward with information. The entertainment industry's response to Khumalo's continued career success amidst these allegations has exposed deep divisions in South African society. While some celebrities have quietly distanced themselves, others have openly supported her, framing the criticism as misogynistic persecution. This defense has gained particular traction on social media, where a vocal contingent argues that Khumalo is being unfairly targeted because of her gender and celebrity status. However, gender rights activists have pushed back against this narrative, with renowned advocate Lisa Vethen arguing that Using feminism as a shield against legitimate questions about a murder investigation does a disservice to both the victims of gender violence and those fighting for accountability in powerful institutions. Compounding the controversy are recent reports that Khumalo's legal team has filed multiple lawsuits against journalists and social media users discussing her alleged involvement in the case. Media law experts warn that this aggressive legal strategy, while within her rights, creates a chilling effect on public discourse about a matter of significant national importance. When public figures use litigation to silence questions rather than answer them, noted constitutional lawyer Pierre DeVos, it inevitably raises suspicions about what they're trying to hide. These concerns were amplified when it emerged that several of Khumalo's lawsuits have been bankrolled by a mysterious legal fund connected to prominent business figures with political ties. As pressure mounts, the National Prosecuting Authority finds itself in an increasingly untenable position. Recent internal memos leaked to the press reveal intense debates among senior prosecutors about whether to finally bring charges against Khumalo and other suspects, despite the political fallout this might cause. The documents show particular concern about the reliability of witnesses after years of delay, with one prosecutor noting that memories have faded, evidence chains have been compromised, and the defense will exploit every weakness. This admission highlights the devastating consequences of the investigation's mishandling, where justice delayed may indeed become justice denied. The international community has begun taking notice of the case's troubling implications. Human Rights Watch recently issued a statement expressing concern about the apparent manipulation of South Africa's justice system to protect connected individuals from accountability. Meanwhile, FIFA officials have quietly inquired about the status of the investigation, given Meyiwa's prominence as a former national team captain. This external scrutiny has added to the government's discomfort, with insiders reporting emergency meetings between justice officials and presidential advisors to strategize a response that won't further damage South Africa's international reputation. For the Meyiwa family, the psychological toll of this prolonged ordeal has been devastating. Senzo's father, Sam Meyiwa, recently revealed in an emotional television interview that he's lost faith in the justice system entirely. "We buried my son believing the truth would come out," he said, wiping away tears. "Now I fear I'll go to my grave without ever knowing who killed him or why they're being protected." His words capture the human tragedy at the center of this scandal. A family's grief compounded by institutional failure, a nation's trust eroded by unanswered questions, and a justice system that appears to serve the powerful rather than the people. As this saga continues to unfold, what began as a murder of a beloved sports hero has become a litmus test for South Africa's democracy. The handling of Docket 375, the allegations of ministerial interference, and the NPA's next moves will reveal much about whether the country's institutions can still deliver accountability or if impunity for the connected has become entrenched. With public patience wearing thin and new revelations emerging weekly, the pressure for answers has never been greater. One thing remains certain. Until justice is served for Senzo Meyiwa, this case will continue to haunt South Africa's conscience and challenge its commitment to the rule of law. The Senzo Meyiwa murder case has escalated into a national crisis, exposing deep fractures in South Africa's justice system as explosive allegations emerge about singer Kelly Khumalo's alleged involvement in a high-level cover-up. Sources claim Khumalo has threatened to expose government ministers she reportedly slept with in exchange for protection from prosecution, revealing a disturbing pattern of political interference that has stalled the investigation for nearly a decade. Public outrage has reached fever pitch as citizens demand answers about the sealed Docket 375, which allegedly contains damning evidence against Khumalo and her powerful protectors, while opposition parties call for urgent parliamentary intervention. The case has become emblematic of systemic failures, with forensic experts and former investigators detailing shocking lapses in the original police work, including ignored ballistic evidence and intimidated witnesses, raising troubling questions about who benefits from keeping the truth buried. The entertainment industry's polarized response to Khumalo's continued career success amidst these allegations has highlighted societal divisions, with some celebrities defending her as a victim of misogyny, while gender rights activists argue this narrative dangerously conflates legitimate scrutiny with gender persecution. Khumalo's aggressive legal strategy of suing journalists and social media commentators has further fueled suspicions, with media law experts warning these lawsuits create a chilling effect on public discourse about a matter of national importance. Meanwhile, leaked NPA documents reveal prosecutors growing unease about bringing charges after years of delays that have compromised evidence and witness reliability, illustrating how institutional failures may have permanently damaged the case's prospects. International observers, including Human Rights Watch and FIFA, have begun expressing concern, adding pressure on South African authorities to demonstrate their commitment to justice and accountability. For the Meyiwa family, the psychological toll has become unbearable, with Senzo's father Sam publicly declaring his loss of faith in a justice system that appears to protect the powerful rather than serve the people. Their private grief has become a national shame, symbolizing how institutional corruption and political interference can deny even the most high-profile victims their basic right to justice. The family's anguish stands in stark contrast to the continued freedom and celebrity of those allegedly involved, a disparity that has come to represent South Africa's stark inequalities in microcosm. As the years pass without resolution, crucial forensic evidence degrades, witnesses disappear or change their stories, and the chances of achieving justice grow increasingly remote, leaving many to wonder if the truth will ever emerge. The case's implications extend far beyond a single crime, serving as a litmus test for South Africa's democratic institutions and their ability to hold powerful figures accountable. The handling of Docket 375 and the NPA's next moves will reveal whether the country has overcome its culture of impunity or remains hostage to political manipulation and elite privilege. With each passing day of inaction, public trust erodes further, feeding growing disillusionment with the post-apartheid promise of equal justice under law. The Meyiwa case has become a mirror reflecting South Africa's deepest systemic flaws, from police incompetence and prosecutorial timidity to political corruption and the toxic intersection of celebrity and power. As this national tragedy enters its 10th year without resolution, South Africa stands at crossroads. The Senzo Meyiwa murder case is no longer just about finding justice for one man's death, but about reclaiming the soul of a justice system meant to serve all citizens equally. Either authorities will finally muster the courage to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even into corridors of power, or they will confirm the public's worst fears that some lives matter more than others in the new South Africa. The world watches as a nation grapples with its conscience, waiting to see whether truth and justice can still prevail over power and privilege in a democracy that promised so much but continues to deliver so little for so many. The ghosts of unresolved crimes past whisper that we've been here before, but never with stakes this high, and never with a public that's determined to see justice done, no matter who falls.